Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of April the 22nd till 28th, 2024. We have quite an interesting week ahead of us, and this is because, well, we're very freshly after the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction. But this is where perhaps I haven't even said it correctly, because the conjunction itself is still ongoing, it is still active, it is still powerful all throughout the week. But what I was referring to is that their conjunction in a perfected way, where they're at the same degree and at the same minute, that took place either on the 20th or 21st of April, depending on where you are on the planet. But technically, even after, and after meaning that Jupiter picks up a little bit of speed and overcomes Uranus. So it moves ahead with 1 degree approximately by the end of the week. But the conjunction itself, it's still ongoing. So that just means that we're still in that window of opening where it affects whatever it has to produce, however it influences us, or whatever we do with its energy is still ongoing. So basically, we can consider this week as an extension of the 20th or 21st of April, because even though this is the moment when astrologically, esoterically speaking, the energy is at its peak, again, it perfects itself. Everyone, every single individual, and I would go even as far as to say everything in existence, even inanimate, has its own special timing. So it is definitely not going to be playing out for everyone at the same time at these key dates. But this week is going to be one of these time frames when it can play out, because for some people it can happen as a succession of events. It doesn't have to be one single event, while for other people it is an inner energy. It is something psychological slash emotional, perhaps even spiritual, for example 12th house, 9th house. And that, even though things can be stirred in an instant, Uranus, but until that is understood or that produces an effect, a true inner change, some time may have to pass, and successions of events or reflections or whatever need to take place. So this is why for some people, as I said, it can be instant, and you could have already had this play out in your life, especially that this conjunction was also active and ongoing before it became exact. So this is where, as I said, for some people, it might have already played out. For other people, as I said, it is over the course of playing out as we speak, while for others still, it can play out at a later date. Everything and everyone has their own timing. So, and of course, collectively as well, we saw a lot of manifestations already, which indicated that it is a reflection of this event. Like, let me give you an example. The very recent volcanic activities, the very recent earthquakes, the very recent technological uh, big hits, big discoveries, big news, big, however, something entered our awareness for the first time. So, revelations. But at the same time, this is about protest, rebellion, revolution. We saw that play out so very directly. Then this also has the economic, financial part. Like, one of the most clear, big examples for this is that war aid bill in the United States, some 90 billion or something like that, that has had to be or still has to be decided upon. Jupiter, the legal side of things, how fair and just is it? So it's highly subjective, really. And Jupiter is exactly that. And there is Uranus, the actual facts and numbers and what it means broken down for the people, for every single individual. Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, both the collective but also the individual. That's such a direct and very palpable example that is playing out as we speak. So, very, very clear. And without a shadow of a doubt, there are still events yet to take place on the world stage collectively, and that involves, again, tectonic movements, volcanic activity, basically the crust of the earth have something changing it, something shocking it, shockwave, etc. This can very well play out over water, so where it's the bottom of the sea that shakes or something stirs up some calamity with water. Why? Because Mars is sextiling this conjunction from Pisces, and that is usually sea, water, big body of water, especially coming from the deeps. And of course, this can represent the not so nice side of it as well, where if some technology, Uranus, is faulty or something is not really right with it, well, then that is inviting an accident to take place. But then there is another energy at play, which adds a layer to this, and that is Pluto present in Aquarius, and that is Uranus's home sign. And Pluto reveals what technology can do, both sides of it, both the very, very useful and innovative and truly problem solving, and Uranus being in Taurus nature, some of it actually is very okay with nature. Why not? Because it is the product of intelligence. Uranus, the highest possible usage of intelligence. And if that intelligence is, how should I explain this? Charged, let's say, animated, motivated with benevolence, Mars in the sign of Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, then of course it produces very harmonious effects. If you want that technology to be very friendly to nature or even to help nature one way or another, well, of course you can obtain that. No problem at all. But Pluto at the same time reveals the dark side of technology. And we see this as all of the crimes that are taking place on the internet, via the internet, with the usage of technology, artificial intelligence. There's so many examples that I don't even know which one to, use. But I think you kind of get where I'm going with this. And Jupiter is, justice. So the opposite of justice is lawlessness. So this Pluto is also revealing this, and also dangers of technology. And I do believe the explosions and weaponry and the bombs and all of that are also a very strong example of this. So I'm so sorry for having to speak yet again and emphasizing yet again on this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. But in a nutshell, mainly this is what next week is about. it's a portal for this to come into our awareness one way or another. So yes, this is where, let's say that it's like your birthday, you kind of know that there is going to be a surprise, but maybe your relatives and friends and everyone else played it so very well that you really have absolutely no idea. And no matter how you brainstorm or what you do to find out or get a clue, it's not happening. So the only choice you have is to actually wait for the surprise to be revealed to you. That is how this week and energy is going to feel like. But ultimately, it's upgrade. The feeling is the feeling. Okay. The immediate effect is how it comes down. That even if that is not so beautiful, it is what it is. But the big picture, what it wants to do, that is the most important, and that is upgrade, quantum leap, truly take us into the future, truly set us free from certain limitations that, from an evolutionary perspective, from a quantic perspective, even from a collective mass psychological perspective, and needless to say, spiritual perspective, those limitations are no longer necessary. This is how stages of evolution play out like. Before, let's say, shackles to our feet with iron balls, whatever that symbol means to everyone personally in their own lives, what that was and is, those were maybe necessary to ground us, etc., etc. Those were part of our being, and those had a function. Maybe that was an organ, symbolically speaking, of course. After this conjunction, and when I say after this conjunction, it's not Jupiter and Uranus, the physical planets conjuncting, that is doing this. It's just the divine timing for a quantum leap. These two planets just tell us that it's time for this step, divinely speaking. So, back to my original idea. So, this is an upgrade. This is an evolution. This is when those shackles no longer serve. That's the quantum leap in consciousness. The consciousness part of it, financially or physically or emotionally or value wise or whatever, that's a more lower expression. But what they do to our consciousness, the highest possible expression of this, is exactly that those shackles, whatever they may be for us individually, a misaligned belief, a outdated value system, low self-worth, um, lack of financial resources, the place, house, physical habitat, basically where you live, was limiting to you in one way or another. Like, let me give you an example. Some people, some individuals, physically, genetically, are wired in a certain way where they are at their most comfortable when they're outside in nature or living in nature. That's genetic. Education, the conditioned self, and also lifestyle. The life setup may never ever give this person the opportunity to even experiment this. So they will never know from themselves, about themselves, that they are actually wired that way, because maybe holidays and etc., etc., the contacts with nature make them feel absolutely wonderful and stuff like that. but that doesn't necessarily mean that they will get the idea, the big idea. So they will try to adapt. But maybe, for example, for that person after this conjunction, that's the epiphany that changes. They will understand that if they actually live in nature, they're a different version of themselves, the best version of themselves. And the life change doesn't even have to be as dramatic. They go from a block of flats to a house with garden, and their consciousness improves in frequency and vibration in function, so they become happier instantly. There it is. And it's not even something that would truly upset the life of a person, yet the change will be like polarity shifted, basically. So we need to understand this energy in so very many different ways because it changes us for good. And financial parts are yet to take place, world economy, local economy, our own budget, because after all, this is Taurian energy. Then inner values, what it is that we no longer love, the leap in consciousness, and what it is that we are falling in love with, like an exchange, outdated values are stored in our memory, but they're no longer alive. They're basically decaying. And then new values, new understanding. Why? New understanding of the self and new understanding of the world times we live in uh, automatically mean a new understanding of a self, does it not? And that changes so very, very much. But of course, this can very well be a fated energy as well, because we are still in the effect area, time-wise, of the eclipses, especially the Aries, total solar eclipse in Aries. That's not a closed case. That is very active still. So, but perhaps it is exactly the eclipse energies that gonna stabilize a bit and become more linear after the 24th of April, because that is when we have a full moon in Scorpio, an interesting full moon. I have a specially dedicated video about, check it out if you're interested, but I'm also going to say a few words later on that will, how should I say, stabilize the karmic influence of the eclipse, and then also this massive conjunction that is still going on in Taurus. And another big energy shift this week is that Mercury is going to stand still in the sky and then go direct. It will not move all that much this week. It is going to be almost just at a standstill. But fortunately, it ends the more active part of the Mercury retrograde season. And what comes next in this larger Mercury retrograde season is the resolution solutions, where things got us, where the communication, the timing issues, the delays, the anger, the outbursts, because that was also part of the picture. And let me just give you a collective example. Heated negotiations, exchange of terms and conditions for war or for businesses or for anything that was so very much part of the world events in this period, all throughout the month, basically, not even just under the perfection of the conjunction. So yeah, that's also part of the Mercury retrograde season. So all of those are leading us somewhere, and we are getting this part of the energy. And also especially at the beginning of the week, we still have the perfection of the Sun and Pluto square. So the week begins with a certain sense of powerlessness. Maybe even, who are we? The Sun is representative of our consciousness, the light of our being, what it is that we project, who it is that we are. In the sign of Taurus, that is reflected by our values and everything that we love and our five senses. Pluto in the sign of Aquarius is basically the times that we live, what the collective is going towards, the collective ideology, principles. And those are, on one hand, under a shroud of mystery still, because we only know we can only see and know just a small part of this future that we're already stepped into. We don't see clearly yet where it's the destination. And on the other hand, this is also, the collective influence. It doesn't matter what values we have or who it is that we are or know and feel that we are, the Sun in Taurus, what it is that we embody and want to embody. The world goes on its own pace and where it wants to go. It doesn't care all that much about us. So this adaptation energy, fixed square, it's not easy, very not easy, because we may feel lost in the times, in the quick evolution of everything that is going on, especially technology. It may intimidate us. It may feel make us feel like washed away in a sense, where can our sun, the light of our values, truly shine when it is eclipsed by its natural Taurus light, is eclipsed by the neon and LEDs of technology? You know what I mean? And when science makes anything that has to do with love, what we love, ridiculous. So this will be like a massive battle between values. How can we preserve our most important values and parts of our identity, those which are eternal parts of the self, which are not going anywhere, not changing? Because if they go somewhere, as in they change, that means they break, and that means that we, who it is that we are, breaks. So those are permanent parts of us that we have to find a way to adapt them to the future. How will, but this square will target areas of life specifically for every one of us. Does this come from relationships? Does this come from finances? Does this come from your friend circle of friends, where maybe all of your friends are so in tune with this modern hyper current trends that are fast evolving, quantum leaping themselves, and you are totally out of it? You can imagine that this creates a big gap between you and your circle of friends and you and between other people. One example of how this can play out. But is it in contracts, job, career, soul path, spirituality? It can be in so very many, it can play out in so very many different ways. And also on Monday the 22nd, Mars in the sign of Pisces. So the psychological Mars, the spiritual Mars even, sextiles this conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. So exactly the psychological charge, the emotional charge, the spiritual charge that we give this conjunction is so important. The keyword here, the best possible advice that I myself was given by spirit guides was receive it, take it in the shape and form as it comes. Don't hair split. Don't bring your expectations to the table. Just take it the way and shape and form as it comes and put it to use. So this is also the advice that I can give you guys. Mars, charge it, put it to use. Accept it the way it comes, put it to good use. This is a very, very strong psychological energy. This is the type of energy when, you know, the power of hope manifests. And this is actually the healthy expression of it. Why healthy? Well, hope, the only hope that manifests here is pure hope, not expectations, just pure hope. When we don't even know what shape and form to give our hope, we just hope. Like hope, a divine principle. And then there is Jupiter and Uranus. Jupiter's subjective truth, Uranus objective truth. The two dancing together, the two become one. And in the sign that embodies, makes it real. So it gives it to you. But the chaos is given by subjective and objective become one. So that means in this moment in time, quantumly speaking, or philosophically speaking, there is no subjective and objective. Neither one is able to exist purely. Both subjective and objective become one. So it's like a paradox. Pluto in Aquarius, the dichotomous nature, loves paradox. It works at its best. So you see how this is a consciousness altering and life altering conjunction with Mars in the picture. And Mars is also the ruler of the eclipse and the sign where the nodes are right. North node is right now. Actually, Venus is the ruler of the south node sign, Libra, and she also falls under the rulership of Mars right now because she's in Aries. And she also rules Taurus, where the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus is. So Mars is pretty big in this picture, but Mars itself falls under the dominance of Neptune because it is home, at home Neptune. In Pisces, very powerful. So you see Neptune, the divine source, and everything in existence is illusion. The matrix idea, well, this is it. That's why reality can react in a way it never used to before. Because the veil between the worlds continues to be especially thin. And also, this is where the boundaries between the dimension and different realities have holes in them for a short period. So this is a very powerful time that we are living. And at the same time, look at this. Moon conjunct South Node. That means it's opposing the North Node and opposing Mercury retrograde. A lot of realizations, communications, emotional revelations, basically, coming from contracts, relationships, and justice. On the world stage, it's very clear something will shock us. That comes from the international courts of justice or something international. Something will shock us. And then, individually speaking, there might be some communication that is unexpected or sheds a light or clarity onto something. and it's part of the Mercury retrograde season as well, or you will know what to do with a contract, sign it or not, or terms and conditions and stuff like that. Now moving on to the 24th, here we're gonna have, you can see this on my screen, but we had just a few hours ago, put it into context, the full moon in the sign of Scorpio at 4 degrees approximately. So that means that holds a T-square with Pluto. Again, the Mercury retrograde season. In its context, Mercury is almost at a standstill. Almost. So this energy needs to be very relevant. Communication wise, processing, thought processing, emotional processing wise, we need to give ourselves certain answers. Hence the moon in Scorpio pulling onto the surface the realness, Pluto, and Pluto is the ruler of the full moon as well. The realness of our feelings, regardless if those are pretty or very ugly, we need to confront them, we need to look at them, and we need to understand them, and ultimately we need to do something with them, because being honest with ourselves in this very stark way, and again, chances are I don't think it's going to be all that much optional. Something in life or within us outside of our will trigger the moment of truth, but it gives us power, it gives us choice, it gives us Uranus, the objective truth, and Jupiter, what it means to us. And this full moon, I do believe, this is from a more esoteric perspective. This helps us stabilize the eclipse energies, help them become more linear. As in, for example, even if the karmic effect of the eclipse is playing out in your life, and it's something, as I said, not one event, but something more linear in time, so work in progress basically. What this energy does, it puts it into the background, so it runs on autopilot. It's no longer impacting your emotions, awareness, mental sphere. You process it, so this is really, really good. And for other people, it gives them the hard truths and feelings, especially feelings deep within themselves, that they need to make very objective and truthful choices, options, or key moves in life now, because that's the period. But if you want to know more about this full moon, just check out my video, specially dedicated video. Now moving on, on the 25th, now either on the 24th or 25th, depending on where you are on the planet, Mercury stands still in the sky and prepares to go direct. So this ends Mercury going backwards, the retrograde. However, Mercury is just now starting to wrap up its retrograde season. So this is when clarity comes. The electronic equipment finally gets repaired, or we figure out how to use the software, when we finally understand communication that didn't go all too well, or when the anger subsides and we finally are ready to negotiate, have a dialogue. So this is when the wrap up is slowly but surely starting to begin. The other energy that is very important is that Venus is conjunct Aries. Now again, either sensually speaking, because why? This is the lower expression of Venus. So that means our instinctual pleasure senses, you know, the libido, so to speak, is on fire, Aries. So for some people, funny coincidences in love or sensually might take place, and how will they shake up your emotional world? Let's say it like that. Because the moon in Scorpio, again, another energy that can be sensual, sexual, instinctual, raw, um, is quincunxing this conjunction. So you see, this is when strange things happen. When, for example, people sensually, sexually, romantically, the lower Venus behave differently that they usually do. Almost like they go a little bit crazy, or curiosities kick in, or a certain kind of courage possesses them that leads them to infidelity or etc etc. Now this is also an energy when I would really recommend make safe that your phone and make sure that your phone and wallet are safe, and you don't expose yourself to thieves, especially very dexterous thieves, where you will not even have an idea until you get home. So take caution with these things. Um, anyway, financially speaking, value wise, and even in a sense, justice wise, for example, how does this correlate with justice? Well, for example, politicians, what have you done with the money? What have you done with the people's money, for example? Because Aries is individualist. So this is where Aries, the angry citizen, asks, what have you done with my money? This will definitely play out somewhere or somehow, but this can also be individually. What am I doing with my money? What am I doing with my finances? This is a very, very, let's say, emotionally, but in a sense, value wise as well, awakening Aries energy. And all of this under Mercury standing still in the sky, preparing to go direct. So it's shadowy, it's powerful, it's wild, it's combusting in the sign of Aries. So very important words, communication, initiations, etc., etc. Now moving on to the 26th, here we can see um, that Black Moon Lilith holds a trine with Jupiter Uranus conjunction, but more actually with their midpoint. I know that they're still sandwichly close in the sky with one another, but anyway, this is an important trine because Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Virgo represents our primal instincts, our more basically the intelligence, the inner GPS of our gut. So, but sometimes that is also violence. Sometimes that also causes us to lash out. But at the same time, that also causes us to very meticulously analyze everything that is around us and put this into context into your life, within your job or within your love life, within your friends, within your soul path, within your own relation with the self, etc., etc. So this Black Moon Lilith is a very strong reality, almost exaggeratedly reality-oriented energy, where It is your gut, your instinctual intelligence that you can use as best to navigate this. So it holds a trine, an earth trine with Uranus and Jupiter. Again, I see this as a moment of truth that crystallizes something in your life. You know, when something becomes deeply rooted within us, that's saying, well, this is what this energy will do. Something takes roots within us. And if we want to complicate this a little bit, we can also say that Ceres, planetoid Ceres, so it's a grand trine from Capricorn, nurture. If something takes roots within us, well, it needs nurture. It needs some food to start growing. Ceres, so Capricorn, it is under our power. We get something that nurtures us, that helps us make this quantum leap. And speaking about Ceres, well, there is also something not so nice because she holds a square with Chiron in Aries. So this can mean, you know, especially that any cardinal energy is that much more likely to play out on the world stage. Food crisis, food shortage, fight for food, famine. But of course, the essence of the square, it is becoming urgent because it needs a solution. It needs a solution now. But Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Virgo, no one must be left out. Is a good solution to this. So the Ceres Chiron square highlight the wound, the imminent, as in not even imminent, the existing problem, and it's getting severe. But fortunately, the Grand Trine can offer the solution. It is being addressed. So, and Ceres in Capricorn centralized power have to provide the nurture. You know what I mean? If they want votes, that is. Then we move on to the very end of the week, where we have a really another very important conjunction. But by now, Mercury is starting to go direct. And before Mercury starts go direct, it is for the, I want to say, third time conjunct the North Node in Aries. However, it's not exactly, you know, it doesn't perfect its conjunction with the North Node. So that's why we can't really say it's a third time. It's just an imperfect conjunction. However, it's very important for the larger Mercury retrograde theme, but at the same time for the North Node in Aries theme, where the mind, we understand yet again, or are led to understand how very important being there for the self and our purposes, our needs, our own liberty and sovereignty is in the present moment. Have power. Do not give your power away, basically. There is this. But then there is the Mars and Neptune conjunction. This is very, very significant because Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, and this conjunction only happens around roughly once every 2 years. So Mars truly activates the karmic nature of Neptune, especially that Neptune is almost energetic, so it's very, very heavy. And because of this, I'm unfortunately certain that we will see certain not so favorable events play out due to this, because this is illusion. This is collective depression. This is where the youth and young people are suffering a certain decadence. This is where we'll see the psychological dangers of modern society and with everything in it. This is where we'll see a tiny bit of doom and gloom as well. And I know that this is more like a taboo, but we need to be honest with ourselves. Jupiter, at the time of this conjunction, and Jupiter is the ancient ruling planet of Pisces, so I think it matters, is conjunct a fixed star named Zara. And this is a rather not so nice fixed star because it can have a lot to do with sadness, melancholy, accidents, and even the illusion, the illness when someone wants to take their own life. Jupiter expands this. And Mars and Neptune together can be what power Mars, the illusion, has. So the best energy to counter this aspect is exactly Black Moon Lilith's trine with Uranus. The stark reality. Sometimes it is this stark reality check that is the best way to get a person out of an illusion. Because if a person understands and knows for certain that those thoughts and feelings and perceptions are not necessarily their own, they're like a virus, let's say, but an invisible, non-physical one, and they have to do the opposite to get out of their influence. Aries conjunct Venus in the sign of Aries. If the sadness isn't even mine, well, then it's my duty to save myself. You know, this is where it's a window of opportunity, Uranus, the truth, to show us that many times melancholy isn't even our own. Certain thoughts aren't really our own. They're just a starved mental sphere. What is it starved of? Well, love. Love and a certain kind of benevolence, where if the mind is motivated and animated by something good, benevolent, positive, constructive, not necessarily in a Saturnian way, more like in a, let's say, Venusian or Jupiterian way, and Jupiter is there where he needs to be. So that's a big check. Jupiter, check. He is there. If the mind is motivated like that, it becomes a tool and a portal for miracles and for basically saving grace. So this is what we need to understand to navigate with this energy and put it to good use. Because this is the other effect of the Mars and Neptune conjunction. You do with the power of the spirit, because the spirit is always illusion. It is always just a light show. But existence itself is the meaning that you find to that light show. It is not being there, it is not taking part, and it is not just observing it. Life, existence, and your biggest role is to give a meaning to everything that you see and live. This is where most people are so dead wrong that they allow themselves from a philosophical perspective to be conditioned, in the sense that well, the meaning that life tends to come with tells them what they need to believe in and what not. But actually, this has to be the opposite way. Jupiter conjunct Uranus, reversing the polarities, and this dawns on some people that it's actually reversed. Life comes with something. It's you. It's your job. It's not even the divine's job. If the divine wants something from you, that this is it, this is your job, to give a meaning to something. Of course, it is in your liberty to give a doom and gloom and really ugly meaning to it. But you have the same liberty and power, Mars in Pisces with Neptune, to interpret reality the way you wish, as subjectively as possible. If you wanna see everything through a rose tinted glass, you are in control. Now, the Saturn, fortunately, is also in the same sign, in the area, let's say, which means that it also comes with wisdom and understanding and previous life experience. As in, both that some experiences actually come from previous lives, but also things that we lived in this life and we harvested Saturn as experience. Those solidify our wisdom, so we know what tint we need to give our glasses. We know when rose tint is the bad choice, but we also know when black tint is the bad choice. So wisdom and purity, the purity of faith, the purity of thought, even Uranus, higher thought, can give us the power to shape this energy. So this is when it will be our choice to turn this energy into something very bad and tragic. Where Neptune, out of these planets, it is Neptune who is the strongest one. Mars is combust absolutely, but it cannot put Neptune on fire. It can only start boiling it. You know what I mean? And releasing steam. It's almost like Neptune is boiling. So, of course, the illusion sucks in if you allow it to. But let's focus on the best part of this energy. For some people, finally, after maybe tens of years, they break free from the illusion. They break free from that horrible, bad inner voice that sabotages them, from the so low self worth, from the self victimization. They break free from their inner demons finally. And I believe with every fiber of my being that this is what this energy is meant to do and will do in the majority of cases. However, we might see some incidents, especially at sea, because this can also represent aggression, aggression at sea, and it's already playing out. But at the same time, this can also represent the power of the sea, where the sea takes vessels. So something might happen. And at the same time, this also represents collective psychology, manipulation, the collective lies. So under this conjunction, we cannot trust anything. You know what I mean? But fortunately, Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto ensure that we don't trust that which doesn't feel right. Black Moon Lilith trining Uranus. And last but not least, another saving grace is that White Moon Selena, so the opposite of Black Moon Lilith, our soul's highest possible expression, the beauty of the soul, the benevolence of the soul, the undying love that is within our souls, the infinite hope and magic and mystery, etc., is conjunct Jupiter. It is actually between Uranus and Jupiter. So Jupiter expands this, the power of our souls, the light, the truth, the benevolence, and the love that the Creator simply placed in our souls by default are gonna light us the way, no matter where we are or no matter how difficult any kind of situation may look like. So this is definitely the saving grace. So with this being said, thank you everyone for listening and wishing everyone a lot of patience, a lot of inner strength, and a lot of magic all throughout this week. And I really, really hope that you get the best possible surprises and breakthroughs. Thank you again for listening. Until next time, bye for now.